Hi, my name is Doug Black. I'm managing editor of Enterprise Tech, and I'm with Steve Hebert, who is CEO of Nimbix, which is a public HPC cloud platform provider. And Steve, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
It's great to be here.
And maybe we could start with just a thumbnail sketch of Nimbix, when you were founded, and what is the mission of the company?
Sure, thank you. So Nimbix was founded in 2010, really with the vision of building a cloud computing platform for high performance computing, purpose-built, and really beyond that, leveraging technologies like accelerators. And we started back in 2010 with GPUs as kind of the first, but actually extending through evangelizing with FPGAs and other types of hardware. And we saw that as the other kind of the big cloud computing providers continued to emerge, focused on CPU virtualization, we felt that the new challenges for high performance data processing were going to demand different architectures. And so the Nimbix Cloud is really about availing those technologies at scale for customers to leverage as a public cloud service.
So maybe you could break down your customer base in terms of traditional HPC with a real focus on scientific research over against enterprise, commercial kinds of customers.
I would say we tilt significantly to the enterprise side of things, and that includes both customers who have been traditional HPC users in the enterprise in those kinds of industries and domains that require it, as well as ones that are new to HPC. And that said, we also work with many academic and research institutions to support research projects and things that are going on in the academic domain, but that would be a much smaller percentage of who we do business with today.
So what is a typical scenario under which an enterprise or a commercial customer feels the need to come to Nimbix and talk about what you have to offer is right for them?
So I think a typical scenario, and some of this is going to vary based on the industry that they're in, whether it's life sciences or manufacturing or retail doing machine learning or things like that. But a typical one, let's take manufacturing for example, which is a very fast growing and popular use case. It's really a question of, can I get how can I get the performance that I'm after in my simulation software applications? And so we come to the table really first to help them see that there's a path to enabling us to solve those problems in the cloud and do it very effectively and very efficiently and at a very commercially reasonable cost. And then it becomes really a question of build versus buy. Do we want to go and bring this in-house, or do we want to actually look at using an as-a-service model to do that?
So do customers typically sort of sample the technology that's out there and then move off and bring that the technology on-prem, or do they stay with Nimbix?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think there's a little bit of both. I would say the majority will try the technology and then run. Nimbix becomes the computing platform for the use cases that they're working to support. So think of it as a business process within the organization where if you're an engineer, you're running simulations as everyday part of your work, and you log into a computer, and it just so happens that the Nimbix Cloud is the computer that they log into to run their work. Other more established larger companies sometimes want to do a hybrid type approach. We're definitely seeing some transformation as customers look to refresh, of really calling into question, do we do this in-house, or do we actually look at doing it fully in the cloud, or maybe some balanced mix? And so I would say it's both of those paradigms are supported by what we do.
Today I was at a session in which AWS talked about their HPC capability. So how does a company like Nimbix compete with a monster like AWS?
That's a great question, and we I think we have a couple of areas that were really unique. And again, as I mentioned, we're a purpose-built platform for high-performance computing, and there's really two areas we focus on for our customers. The first is ease of use. One of the things about using an infrastructure as a service cloud is you have to stitch together a lot of the components to build an HPC solution. And while you might have some HPC components to build that solution, there's complexity. So we focus on time to value, get the applications in the hands of the users and then run it on supercomputing resources. The second major point is performance. And we actually departed from the traditional cloud technology, which is virtualization, and actually embraced Linux containers, containerization of workloads that allow us to actually run on bare metal with typical supercomputing class resources, InfiniBand interconnects, fast CPUs, heterogeneous environments like GPUs and FPGAs, which ultimately translates to better performance and ultimately better economics. And so that's really the two kind of points that we compete with them on. And the other point I would add there is that for us it's a bit of a paradigm flip on cloud. Rather than thinking about the infrastructure and then building up to the layer of applications that you want to consume, we actually, the users of the Nimbix cloud, start with the application, and then the infrastructure is handled by our cloud platform to do all the orchestration.
So I've noticed you have a concept called push to compute. Could you describe that a little bit?
Sure. Push to compute is actually a natural extension and evolution of what we've done with Linux containers. And when we actually built our platform to leverage, again, acceleration technologies, that was a really important thing. But as customers said, how do I get my applications in that environment? We wanted to give them an easy mechanism to do that. And since we built our own container platform, we saw that Docker was continuing to rise as sort of the de facto packaging standard. So push to compute leverages the best of the packaging of Docker and all of the registry and hub that they use, and it allows us to webhook those applications into our cloud. So we call it push to compute because essentially you push to Docker Hub and then that goes into the Nimbix cloud, and now you can run those applications at scale and as a service.
So what's next for Nimbix? How do you see the company evolving in terms of your technology offering and your service offering over the next 1 to 3 years?
Yeah, I think that we see Nimbix really pioneering the mainstream adoption of novel hardware architectures under the hood, but continuing to innovate and allow customers access to that capability. And where we see that going, when you start to add in what's happening with machine learning and how quickly that technology is changing, I mean, significant industry paradigms, right? The way we process information and automate that and accelerate the ability to do that. The Nimbix cloud is going to be sort of the engine room of that kind of innovation, both on the machines, the learning and being trained, but also the data processing that those machines will then take care of. And so you're going to see that begin to automate and optimize so that we can process even more data. And so the broader vision is that, you know, this context that you have a cloud supercomputer that's out there for the world to be able to leverage, to train their new algorithms, to process their big data, and really make that a seamless transaction with the cloud.
Nice. All right, very good.
Great.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Yes, thank you very much.